Good morning, Team Alabama. We are ready for page 136. Sorry, I had a little coughing jag there at the end. Page 136, please read along with me. The NACA had become NASA, but the change meant more than just a different name. While the NACA had been quiet, obscure, and largely unnoticed, NASA would be very high profile and high stakes and scrutinized by the world. And the women working there would have high-profile jobs too. The work done by the NACA engineers had been hidden behind the more public operations of the military and commercial aircraft manufacturers. NASA was tasked to provide for the widest practicable and appropriate dissemination of information concerning its activities. So very transparent. They're going to be seen and heard. That meant the work done at NASA's belonged to every American. All of its actions, its moments of triumph, and its heartbreaking failures and tragedies were to be laid bare to the citizens and broadcast on television. Catherine Goebel also wanted to beat the Russians. She didn't want the Sputnik challenge to go unanswered. In addition to national pride, she personally longed to do something untried, untested, and unexplored. Catherine wanted to be part of the team that would figure out how to send humans into space. The end of West computing. As the National Aeronautics and Space Act of 1958, which called for the creation of NASA, made its way through Congress, another memo quietly circled through the Langley Research Center. The former Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory, the West Area Computing Unit, is dissolved. Slowly but surely, women from West Computing, like their white counterparts, had begun to receive permanent assignments in different engineering groups. Now only 9 women remained in Dorothy's pool. Dorothy Vaughan had seen this day coming since the East Computing Pool was disbanded in 1947. So like 11 years earlier, East Computing Pool was finished, but it took longer for West Computing. Each new facility in the laboratory fueled the demand for specialization among its professionals, including the mathematicians. The idea of operating a central computing pool had become obsolete. The computing pool had created rare opportunities for women at the NACA. Getting hired by the laboratory as a professional mathematician had been an important and groundbreaking step for women, especially the African American women. But now the times were changing. Aeronautical research had become more complex, and the laboratory needed mathematicians with specialized knowledge. Women like Dorothy Hoover, Catherine Goebel, and Mary Jackson had gotten their start in West Computing and moved on. Now, it was time for the pool itself and its leader to move on too. The days of the West Computing office had come to an end. The end of the West Area Computing was bittersweet to Dorothy Vaughan. On the one hand, it meant the end of segregation at Langley. Now the black women would work with white engineers and white computers instead of having to stay in their own office. Dorothy had worked hard to support the careers of women like Catherine Goebel and Mary Jackson, and give West Computing a reputation for doing work that was as good as that of their white colleagues. The end of West Computing was in many ways a long fought for victory. The standards upheld by the women of West Computing created opportunities for a new generation of women with passion for math and hopes for a career beyond teaching. On the other hand, it meant that the end of Dorothy's career as a manager. It had taken her 8 years to reach her seat at the front of the West Computing office, and for 7 years after that, she ruled a room full of black female mathematicians doing research at the world's most prestigious aeronautical laboratory. But now, she too was being moved to another group with a new boss.